All right, so the January and February 2004 Alma and Primo release notes, these included feature release as well as the like bug fixes. So there are actually a few things that you'll want to take a look at in your system to make sure that you are aligning with the recommended practice. The first one, and really like the highest priority one, is the mail relay system. So if you've been having issues with the delivery of notifications, it could go back to this. And now, of course, this is changing. I honestly don't know what domain keys identified mail um, is. However, there are instructions here of how to make sure that you have it set up, which probably involves um, contacting your IT, your mail stuff. And then also opening a case under Alma Asset. So it will be gradually deployed. So it's not a like immediate thing. As is typical with these kinds of things, they don't roll it all out instantaneously. So that's something to get some more information on if this is something that you're looking at. Yeah, again, I don't really know what this DKIM thing is, but I will start looking into it now that it will be impacting. So then there are some new functionality things that have rolled out that I am particularly excited about. The first two, um, because they relate to things that we have been trying to do in some of our meetings and that didn't work. So you can now filter holdings sets, not just title sets. So this is very exciting because it also, um, they have created the ability to write indication rules using the new form uh, tool, which is the really cool UI for writing indication rules that includes the metadata of holdings records. So this will be really helpful for cleaning up and refining your holdings. And you can do that now. And I think it was not even like 3 months ago, were lamenting the inability to create a set of holdings and not just titles. So, woohoo! It's thrilling. Also, collection type. So from logical to a fixed list, you can change those back and forth. Um, a logical can go to a fixed list pretty simply. You just change it, even though it wasn't an option before. If you are going to change an itemized list, a fixed list, to a logical, then you must add a logical set to the collection. And it then updates the titles in the collection according to the set. So if you've got a query that you originally created as an itemized list, you can then make a logical one based on that query because the query can be a logical, it can be the logical set. However, if you do not add a new logical set to the collection, the existing itemized titles will be removed and no new titles will be added. So basically, if you have, and I'm guessing this is how it's going to work, if you haven't the itemized list based on the query, you make it logical and then you attach it to that query again, it will keep the existing titles because those titles were part of that query. But if you don't, it's basically deleting everything and starting over. So if anyone uses that and wants to share how it ends up functioning, that'd be cool. This one, save and receive action for item editor. So if you have receiving operators doing those kinds of acquisitions activities, this one is probably pretty helpful. The dashboards, I'm very excited to take a look at these new data visualization dashboards. And they might be something that if they are functioning well, you would want to share with your collections librarians so that they can see what things are marked for retention, how physical books are distributed across classifications, etc. So we'll have to check those out. And of course, since that is an analytics thing, it's not something that you need the sandbox to check out. For those of you who do use the PO lines in acquisitions, the new layout is no longer opt-in. It is required, and it's the default. No more opting out. I did see these notes though. Known issue is saving a faceted PO lines list as a logical set. So if that is something you do or have someone on your team that does, at least they're saying they're going to correct it in about a month and a half. So yeah, instead of using facets, use advanced search query results, I guess, in the meantime, which is probably what you were doing if you were doing that, since that was a workaround. Great accessibility addition here. The Alma backend now supports Alt keyboard shortcuts and voice dictation software. So if anyone does use those, would love to hear how it's working for you. I know that it's been a little frustrating for many people. I've heard this brought up many times over the years, that the Alt keyboard shortcuts were not operational in the Alma backend. This one's kind of a neat one. So when you're doing letters configuration and you're trying to see if the product of your XSL is going to produce what you expect, and you go to choose a different letter example to, like look at the right kind of information, you had to like go over into the side pane and like open a pop-up thing, and then it was a whole thing. Now there is a drop down on the XML editor box that will allow you to choose other available example XML files so that you can populate the XSL in the preview box. So we can check that out in the sandbox. This one's kind of nice, a convenience, not a necessity, but instead of having to refresh the page waiting for the job completion, a notification will appear regardless of what screen you're at. So if you're working on a couple of different projects, you'll get one of the pop-ups from the side that says your job has completed. So that's great. This one is great. I'm particularly excited about it because it has only been rolled out so far in the managed sets. However, I often go to an institution's sets page, and because the scope by default was always my sets, I always had to go in and change it to public sets or all, because I don't often have sets in your institutions. I'm looking at one of your sets to see what's going on. So now they have rolled out the sticky filter feature. So I'm hoping that this extends into different menu areas as well, and that they're just taking their time adding that code to all those different places. Here are some ones that might be of interest. I wasn't super sure. I'm not sure how many people are doing borrowing requests, as in like the ILL kind of borrowing requests, but you can configure the loan due date now to be visible in the record. Borrowing task list, you can print slips in bulk. So if things have been received, or returned, etc. This one was kind of interesting. So I guess I didn't realize because I am, not a cataloger, but they've added a permission level for of read only on the browse bib headings, so that people can browse those things without being able to edit. And I guess you couldn't even see them before unless you had cataloging privileges. And then this one also publish entire bibliographic records repository. So this one might end up being interesting to my like consortium analysis of our collections, because it will give me potentially the opportunity to look at where the kind of collective collection has strengths and weaknesses or real uniqueness to it. And it may be that as there are more external services that you want to send bibliographic information to, that this new publishing profile will be useful. If your electronics resources, I don't know how much this is going to come up given how infrequently we activate new collections, but they're adding another indication on the CZ page for electronic collections to show that a new collection is coming out. So if you're like, I'm not sure that this collection that I have activated is the correct one, and you go into this CZ searching for something from the same vendor and you see there's a pre-release indication next to a collection that looks like it's going to solve the problems that you're having with your current one, I suppose that's helpful because then you know it's coming, as opposed to being like, hey, you should do this. So we'll see how much it impacts us. All right, a few Primo things. So the CDI subject normalization and new keyword field. I think this is one that probably deserves some discussion on whether or not you are using the normalized subject headings from CDI, and why you've made that choice or not. But they're continuing to do some more work to normalize the subject field based on controlled vocabulary and then move additional subjects into keyword if they're not mapped against controlled vocabulary. This will go into effect when the reindexing takes place, and I can't remember when that is, but it is in February sometime. If you do not enable the use of subject normalization, then the existing subject field will continue to be used, and which currently includes subject headings that are weird and coming from weird places because of the CDI. Has anyone ever heard of the Primo v Showcase widget? I felt like I had never heard these words together. And I don't know, it's basically code to put a carousel on a site, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with collections that are created in Alma. Like this is a showcase based on a Primo search. Um, so this is a very interesting one. So you also have to allow domains. So I'm guessing like you'd add like your LibGuides domain or your college domain if you were putting it on like a library homepage that's on the university website. So this is interesting. I'm glad, Jennifer, that you not like I was like, what is this? I've never like seen this. I don't know. Yeah, so I'll be curious to see. It sounds like they're trying to make it easier to do like a new books thing, which is the perennial request at developer days and whatever. So yeah, so that'll be fun. Ooh, okay. Let's open up Tennessee.
Is that it?
Oh,
When I
could
click
be.
on those, each of those four things go to a Primo, like the URL is a Primo URL.
Hmm. Let's what is this? Nah, just boxes.
Okay, sorry. Red
Um,
herring.
no, but I mean it does look that clean. So I should have linked so if we go to let's just do they do have an image of it. No, I don't want 2003, 2004. I don't like to clutter up yeah, so it looks like this. It looks like um the LibGuides carousel. Um so yeah. I guess we could see if there's I mean like Primo Showcase January 29th. Let's see when that adding domains this I mean that's pretty short. So I'm assuming it's kind of new and they just threw it under other configurations. It does look a bit complicated because I mean it's asking you to put JavaScript uh into stuff, which I mean that's a bit intense. Um, but it exists now. So that's interesting. I might play around in it in a test view. But it's I don't know, it's kind of intense for a showcase widget. Um, and okay, where were we? Um, this one was interesting. Um, so there's some default display stuff on holdings level for the get it section, and they did share um an image. So like if there's only one item in one location, it opens by default for that location in the get it section. But if there's and you can see like it says, item in place, what the loan is, yada yada. But then if there's more than one, they have to select the location first. And now you can configure whether to display locations by default when there's only one location available. So I'm not really, I guess it's just cleaning this up. And getting rid of the like one copy, one available, zero requests so that it looks more like the more than one holdings get it locations section. But I mean, it's every time they do a little tweak on how something is displayed in Primo, it gives me hope that there is more coming as far as like customization and cleaned upness, because it is so often too much text, too many drop downs that are kind of hidden, and not the information that someone, instinctively wants right at the top. So maybe it's better. I don't know. Now, here's one that I know there's been discussion of before. The quick links feature of Primo. So this is something that most of you have chosen not to enable because we have found through experience that it results in bad linking and dead ends, and it doesn't always like proxy resolve correctly, and the open access ones don't work right, and they have been they've been allowing opt-in up to this point, and with the May release they are going to be enabling it automatically. So I would recommend before May going in and opting out of this automatic enablement. It's just not it's not terribly reliable so far, especially for open access. And for those institutions who will be adding libkey, which I hope is pretty much everybody by May, which if you haven't gotten my email, don't worry, you haven't missed anything. But this will most definitely make setting that up more cluttered. They might interact badly. It's yeah. I've just heard more complaints about quick links than positives, and they're just like going through unpaywall. Yeah, it's just this is their attempt to do what libkey does, but they're still relying on basically the community zone and who supplies direct links in the community zone. So with those collections that we know are not accurate, like EBSCO and Gale and basically everybody but ProQuest, any open access, etc., you're missing out on a lot of the direct linking that we are going to have with libkey that will be functional. So this is one that if you don't know where your institution has landed on enabling or disabling this, you might want to have a conversation with your team. And with libkey coming, I would recommend disabling this so that the functionality of libkey is maximized and doesn't get muddied with quick links. Finally, there were a few bug fixes that were maybe of note, and that is that the newspaper searches, apparently, depending on where you started, sometimes it sorted based on newest and sometimes it sorted based on relevance. And now all newspaper searches will be sorted by newest. Um, the synonyms file update. So this is one I pulled just in case you were not aware of the use of well, synonyms. You can enable synonyms in Primo so that if someone searches one of the included uh, words, the the synonym also gets included. And they are constantly adding terms to that file. But it's an all or nothing. So I think not too many people have it enabled because when it first started, it just wasn't terribly useful. It was, weirdly limited in what was included, but it might be getting better enough that you want to check it out. Little bit about quotation marks in titles and how they've normalized that using an apostrophe, and that will go into effect with re-indexing. So just kind of something to keep an eye out if you've done any work around norm rules and trying to fix stuff like that. I don't know how a norm rule might be affected because there are in the shared rules there are a lot of norm rules about punctuation in titles. So yeah, and then there are top level facets in Primo V, and I guess if what they're saying from this bug is that if everything in the result was already an online resource or cited or available, they've taken those facets out. I'm not really sure, but I know there are some of you who have customized facets in Primo, so you might want to go and take a look at your top level facets code table just to make sure that what you expect to be there is still there. So those were the highlights that I saw. Of course, anything that is in Primo, there's not really a sandbox version of it. However, what we can do is we can go in to the sandbox and we can take a look at this area just so you can kind of see where it is that we're talking about if you haven't done it before. And this will be fun. I'll see if I can remember where it is. It's in configuration. I think it's general and then mail handling. But I can't remember if mail handling is actually hidden under letters configuration. No. No. Anybody off the top of their head remember? Let's see if it had anything else. Wait, it's in the Alma release notes. Okay, here it is. Integration profile. So here it is, and they say institutions that have configured it to send directly from Ex Libris, but with the SMTP envelope from address, including your own domain. And that part is in letter configuration or component configuration. You'll need to, so if you're using the Ex Libris mail relay, which is here, then you'll need to configure DKIM to ensure that they keep working. So you will reach out through support. It will activate DKIM. And then once it is activated, the mail handling integration profile will it'll probably add like an extra thing in here. So if you go in to your integration profile and or list and see mail handling as one of the integrations, and then you go into the settings and for example, see something like this, then why didn't it save? Oh, because I need the full email. Maybe now we'll save. Just kidding. It's probably because this is a sandbox and it doesn't like me. So anyway, you can check to see if you have mail handling set up under your integration profile list. And then you'll need to reach out. The other thing is if you can't, then it says you'll want to change the mail handling profile to keep the send directly from Ex Libris, but then change it to whatever at Ex Libris group. So there's a lot in there to try and sort out. If you are having mail delivery issues, you can always. Okay, so Kirsty asks if we have send directly from Ex Libris and Alma at Ex Libris group is in the SMTP envelope from address field, we are good for now. I think so. Because if you're not using your own domain, then this bit doesn't apply to you. But we'll just keep an eye on this because something tells me that all of the mail handling settings in the future are going to be evolving and becoming more complicated if this DKIM signature thing, seems like just the first step in authentication and spoofing and etc. So yeah. This one was kind of interesting. So if you want to send analytics to other users who are like maybe in admin for the college or something, you can add your SAML authentication so you can send them analytics objects via URL, and they don't have to have all of the permissions or an internal account with Alma enabled in order to get into Oracle. So yeah, this was also interesting. I don't know how many people are using data visualization, but viewing full workbook. Oops. So that is what I kind of saw in the release notes. I'll go ahead and put the link to both the Alma and the Primo release notes at the top. So if you want to review them yourself, it's easy to get to them. And going forward, I was I I believe the person who this announcement kind of rests on was double booked this afternoon. However, making sure that everybody who needs or wants access to a sandbox and that those things are kept kind of rolling should something happen to me. I always like to use the hit by the bus example, but I also have kids, so you never know. I asked Bobby Garcia at Pierce to take on the role of like sandbox captain. And I'm going to basically give him access to the like request an account form and make sure that he has all the admin stuff to get into all of the sandboxes. And that way there is someone else who can monitor requests and make sure people have access and help me with getting the correct information extracted before we do updates, refreshes in the future, now that like everything's kind of cleaned up or whatever. So I'm looking at additional operational areas where a captain would be helpful to me. I don't want to have like a million working committees where, no one's really sure what it is the group is doing. I really kind of just want some folks who can step in for continuity uh, in the instance of not having a central person, because there was a lot of stuff that before I was hired and after Wade was gone, no one really had access to the information. And it probably uh, slowed things down for a bit. So, anyway, if you have an idea for an operational area that you think could use a captain, please let me know. Uh, so, and we'll come up with like a better for your CV line to call it on the website. So, I think I had a few ideas started, but yeah. So I am hoping that as Bobby takes on some of these captain duties, what will happen is when we get to the next feature release for Alma, because he will be the sandbox person and have access, he'll also be helping me test some of the feature releases in the sandbox prior to these meetings, because he has uh he has job responsibilities at Pierce that are not necessarily in my wheelhouse, and has questions about how is this feature release going to affect such and such workflow, and I don't know. But he has a much better idea of um, how it'll be impacted. So I think having him um, to kind of help me with this will make it that much more useful and valuable to everybody. So I'm excited that he agreed to help with that. And now we just have to kind of get it all set up. Yeah. So any questions, anything else on your mind? I don't believe we have any other meetings this week. Um, so next week, there'll be meetings. Let's see. Next week we have a Primo meeting, so we might talk more about some of the new customization options that have come out with Primo V. And next Thursday, uh, we're going to take a look at Melinda's cool little trick of tagging for subject areas, um, so that you can create analytics reports for your faculty. So I'm looking forward to that, and playing around with, once you have things tagged with a norm rule, how can you then, make a Primo collection or, something else, not just analytics reports, because I've been playing with the Primo collections thing. So that's what's up for the next 2 weeks. And I have quite a bit of open time in my schedule. So if you need to book some time with me, please feel free. And otherwise, that is all I have for today.